So the memorandum of understanding that everyone's been talking about, that I've been talking about, it's hard to get onto any other topic. What I want to lay out in this video is how the Iranian regime is talking about the deal, specifically how much they're talking about Lebanon. I made another video about this the other day, but what I want to get into here is what I believe we should be seeing in the coming days, and that is that this will fall apart over the issue of Lebanon and what type of position that this puts Israel in. So it's going to be very interesting few days and weeks ahead, but Lebanon is going to be center stage in all the conversations. Let's get right to the headlines from today. So this is, we'll start with a number of pieces from Iranian state media. From WANA, here is Iran and Hezbollah. This is from yesterday. Iran and Hezbollah, an equation beyond the region. This is worth reading through. Hours ago, the Israeli army once again attacked Dakhia in southern Beirut. This is from yesterday. Reports indicate that the targeted assassination of a high-ranking Hezbollah official in this area was the focus of this crime. However, further data regarding this matter has not yet been published. The fundamental issue is that the continuation of the Israeli regime's attacks on southern Lebanon and now targeting the Dakhia must by no means be interpreted as actions outside the framework of the Memorandum of Understanding under discussion between the United States and Iran or in opposition to it. In other words, anything Israel does has to be understood as connected to the United States and bound by it. These attacks by the Israeli regime are neither meant to destroy and disrupt the process leading to an agreement between Iran and the United States, nor are they intended to prevent the signing of the memorandum. Rather, coincidentally, this series of crimes is a planned component of this very process. You see, the Iranians claim that when the Israelis attack in Lebanon, it's all closely coordinated with America, and it's all part of America's pressure tactics. Through its relentless attacks on Lebanon, the Israeli regime pursues both its individual and specific goals in line with the greater Israel project, as well as its shared goals with America toward establishing a new security order in the region. Experience has also shown that the Israeli regime does not retreat even a single step from its strategic goals and its policy of occupation in the region. Israel's attacks on Lebanon, carried out with the knowledge and coordination of the United States, and alongside the framing of the Iran-US memorandum, are aligned with the goal of stabilizing the regional equations desired by Tel Aviv-Washington, which is specifically envisioned in Clause 1 of this prospective memorandum as the cornerstone of a regional JCPOA. Okay. Did you understand what that word salad said? It's basically saying that this is all part of America and Israel's plan. What are they doing? I talked about this in a couple of videos recently. The Iranians want to paint every Israeli action as an American action, as directed by America and in coordination with America, so that when the Israelis act independently against Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Iranians can point to that and say the Americans are not acting in good faith. What does this in turn do? This in turn ramps up the pressure that President Trump will place on the Israelis to back off, to not retaliate, to not attack, right? So by pointing the finger at America every time Israel does something, the Iranians gain leverage over President Trump because they know that he wants a deal and he doesn't want kinetic activity. And here's where this article gets really interesting. Okay, and this is the whole article. It's not so long, but it now goes through 7 goals that it sees Israel as pursuing by attacking Lebanon. Fascinating, right? It's saying that Israel is trying to achieve 7 different things. Number 1, suppressing and destructuring the Lebanese resistance, as well as rendering Hezbollah's combat organization non-operational for a non-short period of time. This is absolutely correct. This is the main thing Israel is trying to accomplish. Very strange grouping of words. This is obviously translated from the Persian using some sort of software. Suppressing and destructuring the Lebanese resistance. Destructuring, I guess, means dismantling, right? And rendering Hezbollah's combat organization non-operational for a non-short period of time, meaning for a long time. Number 2, reducing public resilience in Lebanon due to the prolonged state of war and its arduous consequences, and subsequently increasing internal and external pressures for the formal disarmament of Hezbollah. This is also true. This is another goal of Israel's. You want, meaning putting pressure on the Lebanese people, the Lebanese polity, to in turn put pressure on Hezbollah, right? We want to ramp up internal and external pressures for the formal dismantlement of disarmament of Hezbollah. True. Number 3, the de-Shiitization of southern Lebanon as the logical outcome of creating a wide buffer zone. The complete destruction of Shia-populated villages and towns within this perimeter and expanding the occupation of Lebanese territory, over 20%, which has been carried out under the pretext of creating a secure zone and preventing the presence and activity of Hezbollah resistance forces. And it's explicitly in violation of international treaties and laws. It is not explicitly in violation of international treaties and laws. It is actually a fulfillment of UN Security Council Resolution 1701, which calls for a complete disarmament south of the Litani River and does not allow Hezbollah to be operating there. But yes, Israel is trying to push Hezbollah out of southern Lebanon. So, okay, that's the first 3 goals. Number 4, testing Iran's will to defend its most important regional ally and its resolve to rebuild its regional deterrence on the eve of signing the memorandum with America for 2 purposes. Assessing the manageability of Iran's responsiveness within the framework of the current memorandum and subsequent agreements. It's highly crucial for the Israeli regime to see to what extent Iran remains committed to the new equation it claims to have created in the region. And number 2, or B, in the event that Iran does not respond to these attacks, Israel will use this lack of reaction as an assist to the Lebanese government and the anti-resistance political forces in Lebanon, meaning the anti-Hezbollah political forces in Lebanon and throughout the region. By reinforcing the margins and the anti-Iran propaganda, claiming that Hezbollah is merely a bargaining chip in Iran's hands, it will depict that for Iran, the understanding with America is more important than the existence of resistance arms, thereby pressuring Hezbollah from within Lebanon more than ever before. This is an interesting one, this whole number 4 here. What it's saying is that one of the goals of Israel is testing Iran's willingness to step up and respond and defend Hezbollah. And that then gets gamed out in the following way, that they can assess Iran's responsiveness, but also if Iran doesn't respond, then that is what they call an assist to the Lebanese government and anti-Hezbollah political forces in Lebanon and throughout the region, meaning it shows that Hezbollah doesn't have the backing of Iran, and it gives the Lebanese government and the anti-Hezbollah forces in Lebanon maybe a little bit more of a confidence about getting rid of Hezbollah. Okay, number 5, instilling a false duality in the single image of an unruly Netanyahu on the field and an angry Trump in the media, and attempting to impose it on Iran, even if it is accepted by Tehran as a tactical assumption to secure interests, so that it remains silent in the face of the violation of one of the main provisions of the memorandum. This is an important step for Tel Aviv-Washington to determine the rules of the game, signal Iran's lower hand position, and solidify the out-of-framework role of the Israeli regime as America's long shadow in the region. In other words, one of the goals of Israel attacking in Lebanon is to create a false duality that Netanyahu and Trump are acting independently, that Israel is an independent nation that does not just follow the dictates of America. And that's part of why they're doing it, but it's all really a deception play by the Israelis and the Americans. Okay. Number 6, drawing a horizon for the next steps towards realizing a mega project that can implicitly be called a regional JCPOA, under which the case of the resistance front will be determined by closed step by step. In other words, reaching some regional restructuring that leads to a lack of proxies. That's what it means. Lack of Iranian proxies in the region. And number 7, and this one is, I had to read this about 4 or 5 times before I understood what it was trying to say. Because get ready for this word salad. Testing the feasibility of breaking the taboo of Iran's cessation of hostilities with the Israeli regime after 47 years even if on a de facto basis, will be a sign of the potential for transformation of the Islamic Republic of Iran's system with its characteristics up to this point, and a victory for the Western Hebrew-Arab axis. Now, does that make any sense at all? No, it does not. Okay, so let me explain what this point means. Okay, because this is what it's essentially saying. It's saying that the core claim of this clause is that Israel's testing whether Iran will effectively stop fighting Israel, not formally, not on paper, but in practice, meaning that Israel is trying to test whether Iran will stop fighting Israel for the first time in 47 years. So let's look at these phrases. Breaking the taboo, right? Testing the feasibility of breaking the taboo of Iran's cessation of hostilities. In other words, if Iran goes quiet, not retaliating against Israeli strikes, not using their proxies to attack Israel, it essentially is accepting a de facto ceasefire with Israel, even without calling it one. And that's why it says, testing the feasibility of breaking the taboo of Iran's cessation of hostilities with the Israeli regime, even on a de facto basis. What does that mean? It doesn't have to be a signed peace deal. If Iran just doesn't respond to Israel hitting Hezbollah, then there's a de facto cessation of hostilities, and that means that Iran is no longer attacking Israel. And then they go on to say that this would be a sign of the potential for transformation of the Islamic Republic, meaning if Iran accepts this situation, meaning they're not attacking Israel, they're not retaliating against Israel, they're not coming to Hezbollah's defense, it would signal that the Islamic Republic is fundamentally changing. And because they've been chanting death to Israel, and it's been a doctrine that has defined it, it's how they spend their money since 1979, and this would be an ideological rupture, not just a tactical retreat. And this would in turn be a victory for the Western Hebrew-Arab axis, the U.S., Israel, Arab states. And they would all win if Iran quietly drops its anti-Israel posture. In other words, there's an underlying anxiety in this article. And this is why I read through the whole thing. Iran is currently negotiating a nuclear/regional memorandum of understanding, right? That's what they're doing. And their fear is that in order to get the deal done, they're implicitly agreeing to let Israel pound Hezbollah without responding. And that's what they're worried about. They're worried about that concession. And if Iran stays silent long enough, then the 47-year ideological commitment to confronting Israel, to attacking Israel, collapses. So there's basically a threat in this final, in this final clause. This final point 7, which they saved for the end, and you notice how the rest of the document was pretty clear in its wording, and then this one becomes this complex word salad. I believe putting it last and wrapping it up in this word salad is all by design. Let me explain. Because again, what they're saying in point 7 is if Iran stays quiet while Israel bombs Hezbollah, Iran has betrayed everything it has stood for since 1979. Okay, and that's what they're worried about, right? And the rhetorical flourish of it, the confusion of it. Points 1 through 6 are relatively clear and well structured, and then point 7 is this dense fog, and I think it's deliberate. I think the obfuscation here is basically making it sound like they're just doing strategic analysis, but there's actually a threat. Because here's the logic chain. Any deal with the U.S. that leaves Israel free to attack Hezbollah is a de facto ceasefire with Israel, between Iran and Israel. It means Iran is no longer employing the death to Israel doctrine. Number 2, a de facto ceasefire with Israel is an ideological betrayal of the entire revolution. And number 3, therefore, the hardliners are obligated by their own declared principles to keep attacking Israel regardless of what the negotiators agree to. Okay, this is a message to the Iranian hardliners and the IRGC factions to not let the diplomats sell them out with a deal that eases up the pressure on Israel. Right? It's not. This isn't a direct call to attack Israel. That would be too much. They dress it up in this complex language and make it sound like a piece of analysis. Right? That's why I think it was last here. So let's go quickly through some other things. And then they have this other piece here. This is from today. Netanyahu saying we will not withdraw from southern Lebanon. So they bring it up. And it talks about how tensions are increasing. And then another piece today, Iranian source denies Lebanon exclusion from the memorandum because the Americans say Israeli withdrawal from Lebanon not part of U.S.-Iran deal, White House official says. So they immediately say that is not true. It is part of it. According to the source close to the Iranian negotiating team, the simultaneous emphasis on ending hostilities and the addition of the Lebanon-related clause carry implications that extend beyond purely diplomatic or legal framework. Some political observers view the move as sending broader regional signals. Okay, and this came in response to a report on Al Jazeera, which cited a U.S. official saying the withdrawal from Lebanon was not part of the agreement. So this was reported on Al Jazeera. Okay, and then we see this also from Bagai, who is the foreign ministry spokesperson, that he said last night, Israeli aggression turned into opportunity to secure Iran/Lebanon interests, says foreign ministry spokesperson. Right. And then this section here, this is the key section. The spokesperson said that ending the war and securing a ceasefire in Lebanon formed an inseparable part of the ceasefire agreement, adding that Iran had demonstrated in practice that it was serious about implementing the agreement. No, they did not, because Hezbollah kept attacking Israel. I think one of the things that Israel needs to do strategically is stop referring to Hezbollah as Hezbollah. And every time we mention Hezbollah, just say the Iranian military known as Hezbollah or the Iranian forces known as Hezbollah. Instead of reporting that Hezbollah shelled Israel, we should say the Iranian forces in Lebanon shelled Israel. We should just call them the Iranian forces in Lebanon, because that's what they are. And once you call them that, then you can no longer have this plausible deniability where, oh, Hezbollah is attacking us and then Israel retaliates, and then Iran is like, oh, you shouldn't have attacked Lebanon. And like, it's all like, is it, because sometimes we call it that Israel's attacking Lebanon. And sometimes we talk about, oh, it's Hezbollah, it's a separate organization. So I talked about the other day that when Hezbollah drones attacked Israel on Sunday, and then Israel attacked the Dakhia, and then Iran, and then Iran's, and then Trump said, "Oh, you shouldn't be attacking. We want quiet there." The big question that everyone needs to ask is, why did Iran give the order to Hezbollah to fire at Israel that day, or why did they not at least call Hezbollah and say, "Stop firing at Israel. We want to sign an MOU." The chain of command of Hezbollah goes all the way to Tehran. Tehran would continue to monitor developments closely and would use all available tools whenever necessary to ensure that the other parties abide by their commitments. Asked whether the memorandum of understanding between Iran and the United States explicitly called for an Israeli withdrawal from Lebanese territory or merely an end to the war in Lebanon, this is interesting. Bagai said the word Lebanon appeared 3 times in the document. Notice he didn't say yes, it includes a withdrawal. Now, Abbas Araghchi, the foreign minister, has been going all over media in the last 24 hours saying that an Israeli withdrawal from Lebanon is part of the agreement, although the Americans deny it. I think we know who to believe. The understanding referred to ending the war on all fronts, including Lebanon, as well as a respect for Lebanon's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Foreign Minister Araghchi stresses need for complete halt to Israeli attacks on Lebanon. Araghchi issued the call during separate phone conversations with Lebanon's President Joseph Aoun, Speaker of Parliament Nabi Berri on last night, with the focus of the discussion being regional developments and a number of issues of mutual interest. He emphasized American responsibility for the implementation of the clauses that call for an end to attacks on all fronts. In other words, this is the game they're playing, that anything Israel does, they want to point the finger at America, which is all designed to have America pressure Israel, which is a win-win. Either it works and Israel is restrained, or America pressures Israel, Israel defies America, and then we've widened the rift between the US and Israel, which is also to the benefit of Iran. The Islamic Republic retaliated with missile and drone attacks. Okay, there we go. So here's Arakshi saying that Netanyahu declares victory over Iran, rules out Lebanon withdrawal. Last night, Prime Minister Netanyahu was very clear that there will be no withdrawal from Lebanon. This was said not only by him, by our defense minister, and it must be made clear in Israel right now, the criticism of this deal is not coming only from the right. It's coming from the left as well. Meaning everywhere you look, people are being very critical of the deal, and because for the same reasons. Meaning whether it's what you'd call left-wing or right-wing voices in Israel, the reactions have been the same. That we need to be going after Hezbollah and not taking our foot off the gas pedal. Let me just add this one as well. This is this piece from Ynet today. Which is also about this. Hezbollah casts Iran as Lebanon's protector, complicating Beirut's sovereignty push. I'm just going to jump down to one section of this piece. Here. Where is it? On June 12th, before the current announcement of the expected U.S.-Iran agreement, Hezbollah's parliamentary bloc praised Iran for its missile response to last week's Israeli strikes at Dakhia. Hezbollah's representatives in parliament said the Iranian response required Lebanon's political leadership to rebuild its relations with Tehran. They condemned the direct negotiations with Israel. Now, the emerging agreement between Iran and the United States has created a situation in which Iran is the actor seen as helping bring Israeli attacks on Lebanon to a halt. Iranian and Hezbollah officials are expected to keep stressing that point and argue that it was not Lebanon's official leadership that extracted the country from the crisis, but Iran. Because look, the people in Lebanon just want the bombing to stop. So Hezbollah's game is they bomb. There's nothing that the government can do about it. Israel's retaliating. And they just want it all to stop. And then in comes Iran, and Iran gets it to stop. Iran uses diplomatic pressure through the United States. Iran retaliates against Israel. And then they can paint this picture that the Iranians they're the powerful ones. In this part of the world, that's what people respect. And they can continue to paint the picture that they're the ones protecting Lebanon. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Ismail Baghai said Monday that ending the war in Lebanon is an inseparable part of the comprehensive ceasefire agreement. Hezbollah, for its part, formally congratulated Iran, its leadership, and its people on the great achievement of reaching an agreement, which led to a comprehensive ceasefire on all fronts, including Lebanon. The terror group said it expressed deep gratitude for Iran's unwavering support for Lebanon, its people, the resistance, and for the insistence that Lebanon be present in every agreement. Okay, so what's happening here is, let's understand what's happening. Any goal that we've ever had, any hope that we've ever had of dislodging Hezbollah, and President Trump talks about this as one of his objectives in the Middle East, is the disarming of Hezbollah, the removing of Hezbollah. But pressuring Israel to back off of Hezbollah preserves Hezbollah. It preserves the Iranian proxy situation. One of the objectives stated at the beginning of the war on February 28th by Trump was the dismantling of the proxy network. And now, if this is all true, if Israel ceasing fire in Lebanon is part of this agreement, then it's literally throwing a lifeline to Hezbollah. And more importantly, and because you could say maybe that's just temporary, let's get the price of gas down, everything's fine, it's not really a victory, we've beaten them so hard. You always have to keep in mind that your victory has to be understood as victory by your enemy. And from the standpoint of Hezbollah, from the standpoint of Iran, they won. They won because they are still standing. They were not destroyed. These powerful armies, Israel and the U.S., they wanted to destroy us. They wanted to wipe us out, and they failed. And therefore, we have been victorious. And don't think that the people don't see that too. There's a lot of, there's a lot of implications of all this. I'm going to make some more videos about other implications of what we're seeing right now. Although, we have to say that we don't know really what's in the deal. The Americans haven't released the text yet. They said maybe it's going to come out on Friday. Trump said maybe a little after Friday. Vance said maybe a little before Friday. So we don't really know what's in the deal. But one way or another, Iran is going to get some sanctions relief or some financial relief by being able to sell oil. And they also get to flex their muscles in Lebanon. And that's what this whole video is about. You see how I think they're kind of panicked about Lebanon. Here's my take. I think that the Americans are being honest when they say that they are not forcing Israel to withdraw from Lebanon. And Prime Minister Netanyahu says, I'm not going anywhere. And when they insist on it, they are trying to tighten the screws on President Trump. They might be trying to make to deepen the rift between Netanyahu and Trump. But it's also a reflection of the fact that they are doing a full court press to make sure that they retain their power in Lebanon. And this comes just a few days after the Lebanese announced that they're going to start expelling IRGC members from the country. So I don't know how this is going to work, because this is an untold story in all of this. Of course, the Lebanese leadership praises the deal because they have to, because they're terrified of Hezbollah and of Iran. But the leadership in Lebanon that wants Hezbollah gone are being thrown under the bus here. Let's make no mistake about it. Hezbollah remaining condemns the country of Lebanon to more of this occupation by Hezbollah, by the Iranians, that's been going on for decades, that's destroyed their country. So this is a really problematic situation here. Anyway, I just wanted to highlight this. I hope that you found this video helpful. Please like, subscribe, and all that.